Hi guys, my name is Georgette True and I am the host of Fight CPS Real Talk with Miss G. And I also work with attorney Vincent Davis. Um, yes, the other day when Stacy was on the show with me, we discussed that we're going to mention, which is a case we're handling right now, but I cannot mention the name of the state or the county because it's confidential. But this woman has a recording of the police interaction with the perpetrator who went to her house to kidnap her stepson that she adopted. Now, the adoption process was like the mother, the biological mother of the child, wanted them, her and the biological father and his wife, to adopt the son instead of the son going to a unknown foster home. The social worker paid a couple of guys to go kidnap that child from the home. So, with that being said, it was successful. They went, they struggled with the stepmom. They kidnapped the child from in front of the Porsche. So they were watching the house. They were struggling with the stepmom, and the stepmom sprayed their car with red spray, and so the police can identify that car, that vehicle. When the police found the perpetrators, they confessed to the cops that it was a social worker that paid them to go kidnap that child from the house. So with all this being said, basically that social worker indeed did what he did, and now it's under investigation. So she called me. She actually hired us to take over the case, and it's unfortunate that it's going to that level of crazy where they're paying people now to kidnap children, and they work for the children family services department. I mean, I believe anything I hear, but this one just blew my mind. Okay. As I was working today, one of the attorneys sent me this family's attorney. Um, it was posted on May 15th, 2024. His name is Wes Wolf. Said six local family advocacy group. Oh Lord, six local families advocacy group. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the Brunswick attorney Kevin Koff gathered at Camden. Oh my goodness, let me turn this off, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay. Attorney Kevin Koff gathered at the Camden County in Georgia Juvenile Justice Court building, leveling allegations of abuse, unjust separation of families, and dangerous levels of mismanagement at the Division of Family and Children Services in Camden County. Their request a state investigation in one case. Corey and Diana Sullivan took their infant daughter to a hospital for a swollen leg, and the doctor determined that the leg had multiple fracture that kicked off a series of events that led to the Sullivan losing custody of their children. They maintain um, there is a medical reason for their daughter condition, but says DFCS, which is CPS, continues to allege abuse. They said in a news conference Monday that they spend around $80,000, trying to regain custody of their three children. $80,000, just to let you know, it's not cheap. You guys usually call me and say, "Oh, it's too much money, Miss G." You have no idea how far it gets. Okay, you're fighting the state and the county. Keep that in mind, please. Try to regain custody of their three children. My biggest, okay, let me elaborate on that one. Three children, only the infant was the one in question. But whenever you have more minor children, they go on to remove all of them because of that one child. He said, my biggest complaint is that we have so much medical proof in our favor from the time that she was pregnant with our daughter to now, and they don't want to hear it. That's the husband talking. That's his name is Corey Sullivan. They have an agenda, and it seems like every time we present something, they have 3 or 4 other medical experts that want to come and combat what we have. Among the statistics cited at the event was that Camden County DFCS has one of the lowest reunification rates in the state, around 10%, while the state average is about 33% and national average is closer to 50%. Goff argued the system is designed in such a way as to discourage family reunifications. We set up these perverse incentives where the agency is better off and the employees do better by stripping children from their families when they didn't need to be removed, by keeping them removed and in foster care, and by placing them for adoption. Gao said. A 15-year-old who spoke said that while he was in DFCS custody at a hotel for 3 months, he never went to school and instead spent days watching television and playing video games. Goff and Sullivan also alleged a DFCS worker who hasn't been charged with a crime is known for inappropriate interaction with children. Another worker, Donley Hill, was charged with aggravated assault in April following a report from a woman to police detailing what she said transpired between them after he made a visit to the hotel room in which she was staying with her children. As she walked him back to his car, she said he positioned her propositioned her, and she felt pressure to accept to make sure her children wouldn't be taken away. He met his 115,000 bond and went on pre-trial release May 6th. A lack of supervision and lack of control. These employees do whatever they want, Goff said. It's a cult of personality, not of facts. DFCS, through the State Department of Human Services, issued a statement explaining the agency doesn't comment on specific allegations against the staff, but that they take such allegations seriously. They don't take any allegations seriously. There's a lot of foundings, and I've been in touch with a couple of attorneys, one in Tennessee and one in Georgia, and they all tell me the same thing. There is a lot of founding allegations, founding facts that social workers are trafficking children in their custody. I've told you guys this before. CPS employees, most of them, I can't say all of them, but most of them become social workers to traffic children. That's the easiest and the closest way to children. Foster families who know the social workers, but the court doesn't understand that. So they're in close relations with the social workers. The social workers then recommends that foster home for that placement of that child or the children. Then that foster home who knows the social worker use that opportunity to traffic the children. And oftentimes the court makes social workers look like superheroes, that they're there to protect, but they're not. This couple spent $80,000 just to get their kids. And oftentimes you guys say to me, like I said earlier, it's too much money, but it's not too much money. Let me say why. When you're fighting the state and county, you're fighting the state attorney, you're fighting the county attorney, you're fighting the social workers, you're fighting the judge, you're fighting this, you're fighting the children attorney, you're fighting all of these entities. The judge is always going to take the recommendation of the social workers. The court appointed attorney is useless in every which way possible. And the reason for that, because they can't go beyond their scope with their clients, because the state set a limit for them to follow. If they do not follow that scope, then they're in trouble. That's why oftentimes when you guys get a court appointed attorney, he or she doesn't want to do anything on your case, because submitting evidence that's showing that the social worker is a liar. They will refrain from submitting evidence. They will tell you that the evidence is not going to work. It's not going to happen, blah, 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 blah. But the beginning of the case, that's when the evidence should be submitted. And that court attorney, appointed attorney, should be reviewing the daily log of the social workers, for example. All that is important. All of it is, it's a must, and it's very important. But he or she, again, will lie. For instance, they will tell their clients, we are going to subpoena the doctor, we're going to subpoena the nurse, we're going to subpoena the social workers, we're going to subpoena the boss, we're going to subpoena. And then you ask them if they send the subpoena, they say no. Or most oftentimes they'll say yes, but it's a no. And some of them will just tell you, no, we didn't subpoena them. So when you go ask these people that your attorney said that they subpoenaed, when you go ask them if they were subpoenaed, they will all say no. I guarantee you, they will all say no. Then you email that attorney, does not return your emails, and you're like, wait a minute, you told me that you subpoenaed, for example, Miss Hernandez or Miss Smith from the school, but it didn't happen, right? So therefore, you're stuck. So when it comes to cross-examination, you're going to be on the stand. But there's nobody else to cross-examine on your case. So you're in a losing situation. This is why it's very important to make sure that you gather the right information from day one, and also lawyer up immediately. Lawyering up is making sure you have a CPS defense attorney on your team, not a family law attorney, not a criminal attorney, not a real estate attorney, not immigration attorney, a CPS defense attorney. That is extremely important. Yes, it will cost money. That lady spent her and her husband spent $80,000. $80,000, and her attorney had a conference in front of the building. So that is important for you guys to understand. It costs money. This is not a criminal case. This is worse than a criminal case. And then if you let them mislead you, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to be on the state registry as a sex offender or as a child abuser. Once you're on that state registry, and believe me when I tell you this, you will have a very hard time to be around your grandchildren. If you have grandchildren, you're going to be having a hard time being around your daughters, your sister's kids, or having more kids, or what have you. They want to come after them because they're going to say your sister failed to protect and allowed you around her children because you're not supposed to be around kids. Okay, so that is very important for you guys to understand. Yes, it does cost money. If you want to fight for your children in the right way, it does cost money. Because your court-appointed attorney that doesn't charge you, he is working for the state where the state pays them. And they're working side by side with the county. And believe me when I tell you, they're in close ties with each other. Anything you say to them, the social workers will know. There is no confidentiality, honey. No such thing. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Miss G.
Where are you?
I had to leave my house because my internet was bad at my house. So I had to drive somewhere.
For a physician assistant, you have a sucky internet.
I live in them there neck of the woods, dear.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you're here and you're safe. I thought you were arrested.
Can
Court.
happen.
I really did. Because of what happened to you yesterday. I want you to tell everybody what you had to endure yesterday. the same thing as the other attorney that we had on our show. Remember what was his name
Yeah,
again? Attorney.
Richard Ducote. Yeah.
Yeah, he was arrested. He was arrested. Go ahead and explain what happened.
So all I know is I did contact Richard about the situation, but only just briefly, a couple sentences here and there. So he's a busy man, and I just wanted to send him my support. But he was arrested upon asking a judge to disqualify herself or recuse. And then yesterday I had to go and do the same thing. And in my personal case, I have a minimum 19 pages of judicial recusal forms of judges who have recused from my case because I've said on the show many times, my ex is an attorney and he used to work for CPS.
Mm-hmm.
So our divorce custody action took place in the same courts that my ex practices in regularly.
Right.
And instead of all these judges saying, yes, he's familiar to us, let's transfer the venue, they never did that. And they made me go judge by judge by judge to disqualify each one all this time.
Right.
So that's a huge denial of due process because a delay of justice is a denial of justice. And it took me a decade to disqualify all of these judges. And just so you know, so people know to look, in the court record, almost every single motion to disqualify a judge was obstructed from the official court record.
Can you turn off your blinker, honey, so we can hear you
Oh,
better?
yeah, you're right. Yeah. So every single motion to disqualify a judge,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've disqualified probably like over a dozen at this point. Every single one, the motion was obstructed from the official court record. And it's big. I want people to understand that when you hear something in court, don't assume that the documents are truly on the record because they never were.
Mm-hmm.
They obstruct them. So anyways, there's only one judge left in the Supreme Court, County of Niagara, in the state of New York, Judge Frank Sedita. He's the only one left. So what this means is that once he's disqualified, I every single one got disqualified. And it shows that all of the orders from my 10 years of litigation are
Mm-hmm.
all judicial fraud on the court. They all were conflict of interest. So I filed a lawsuit. Court started at 3, and I filed the lawsuit at about 2:00 p.m. in federal court.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove into court, and I said, Your Honor, I have papers to give to you. And he said, and this was for his motion to be disqualified. He
Mm-hmm.
said, well, did you serve them to the other side? And I said, these aren't papers concerning the other side. He says, answer my question. And I said, well, then, no, I did not. Well, you can't give papers to a judge that you didn't serve to the other side. Your Honor, this is a complaint, and you are the defendant in a federal lawsuit. You no longer have jurisdiction on this case, and you must disqualify yourself because you are a witness now in the federal case filed today. And he started yelling at me, of course. You can't give me those papers. You can't give me those papers. And then he wouldn't let me give them to the bailiff. So he was trying to evade service. And he said, well, this is not the right place to serve a judge. You don't come to court and serve a judge in court. And I said, well, Your Honor, I wanted this on the record that you are served. And he said, well, we're here to argue your motion for my disqualification. And since it's your motion, you need to start. And I said, and then I said, well, I ended up being like 15 minutes late to court because, again, like 2 weeks ago, I was telling them I can't make this time. Can you make it earlier in the day? Can you give me virtual? Can we reschedule? And he kept on not responding. So at the last minute, he says, I have to be there. So I had to drive 2 hours from out of town. So I told the judge, you just made me drive from out of town because I travel for my occupation, 2 hours to get here. I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and you made me make arrangements to get here. So I apologize. I'm 15 minutes late. And so I put that all to the record that he was being discourteous and not accommodating to significant, reasons why I couldn't be there.
Right.
So he says, enough of that, start arguing your motion. So I said, again, Your Honor, you are the defendant in this complaint, and judicial ethics requires for you to disqualify yourself from this instant matter. And he said, I've already given you multiple chances to argue this motion, and you keep talking about that complaint, and it's not relevant.
Oh my God.
And so I said, so he goes, now's your third time to argue this motion. And I said, with all due respect, Your Honor, being a defendant in a complaint is a very meritorious reason to beget your disqualification from this case. And beyond that, Your Honor, you are not following the law in this case. And I explained the reasons why he wasn't following the law in the case that I was asking him to recuse from. And then he let the other side argue, and they were like, we don't have much to say. And but of course they didn't have much to say. They were winning because the judge was being mean to me. So then the judge started saying to the record stuff from my matrimonial case, which had nothing to do with this case. It was not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, objection, Your Honor, relevance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you're not allowed to talk.
Wow.
And I said, I certainly am allowed to object and speak to the record. And he went on and saying that I was adjudicated by another judge for being in contempt. And I said, objection, Your Honor. That was unanimously vacated in the appellate court. You forget to mention that. You're not allowed to talk. Stop talking over me. I'm allowed to defend myself on the record, Your Honor. If you keep talking, I'm going to kick you out of this courtroom. So, again, I think he brought up that I was in contempt. And so I said, again, Your Honor, this is the case. And I read off the citation for the case where my contempt was vacated. And you need to stop talking over me. And he said, that's it. I'm kicking you out of the courtroom. And I said, well, Your Honor, that will only speak to your treatment of me and your bias that requires your recusal from the case.
Were you that cool when you were talking to him? Were you that
Yes,
cool?
everything
perfect.
I'm saying is what happened.
Perfect.
So he kicked me out of the courtroom, and I said, Your Honor, you're served. And I walked out, and I left the lawsuit on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't take, when you sue them or you tell them they have to be disqualified, they don't take it so lightly.
No, of course nobody does, but especially judges, though. Especially judges. I sent you a couple of things that I got from another lead attorney in Georgia, and he wanted me to, he watches our show like from time to time when he has time if he's not in court. But he sent me this article and he said I need to look at it. So I did my research and I went even on TikTok to look at if they have any news on TikTok, and I did find it. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at your text message, read it.
Yes, I saw
Yeah.
somebody reported something to the federal,
The
right? Department of Human Services.
Yeah. And did you see the video where the attorney was stating that they're putting children in hotels?
Yeah.
Hotels?
Honestly, Miss G, I was almost hired as a physician assistant for that type of a job. So I declined it. But the weird thing is,
Oh,
yeah. So the weird thing is, because that's happening in New York State too. So it's really bad. So what's happening is the children that are coming over without parents and so forth, they're putting them into hotels, but then they want to vaccinate them. So
right.
that's why they were recruiting medical people, but they don't say on the they don't say when they're looking for people to work, they don't say what the job is for. You find out during the interview. But the weird thing is I didn't accept the job, but somehow they were still sending me all the emails of the locations and where the kids are that need the vaccines, and they were hotels. And again, if you, I think there were some recent cases too, lawsuits or just something that went in the media where a lot of these kids are being sexually abused and exploited by actual, like, the people that are supposed to be taking care of them. Like, they're being sexually abused in the hotels, they're being sexually abused by the medical staff, the social workers there,
Mm-hmm.
and so on.
Mm-hmm. And did you, okay, so did you know that they're literally kidnapping children from the streets now? They're kidnapping children from the streets now who's a runaway, and they're
Yeah,
putting them in motels where they can be sex trafficked, and that the social worker gets a cut from the money that they basically they're pimping the children ages
well,
14 and yeah.
this is a little off the topic, but still on the topic. But so one of the days that we were on the show and I had bad internet, I was trying to describe a situation. So um, I, first I'll just start by saying I had a patient the other night, and he just got custody of his kid, and then he's in the hospital for a drug overdose. And I said, buddy, this isn't good. You just fought so hard to get your kid, and now you're here for a drug overdose, and you came in unresponsive. And he was in the ICU. And I said, you have to understand, if you lose your child, she is at high risk of being sex trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand that right now, because not only do you have to stop doing drugs for yourself, but you just fought so hard to get your kid, you're going to lose your kid if you keep doing this. And then your kid is going to be sex trafficked. Not put in somebody else's home where she's taken care of, but sex trafficked. So I explained this to him. And the other thing that I want people to understand is, a while ago when I was working in the ER, we had 3 people come in. All 3 people were unresponsive, and they were next to dead. We're talking, the guy was from blue from here up. The other guy blue on his hands and his feet.
Mm-hmm.
They were that close to dead. They had what we call in medicine like agonal breathing, like that close to almost being dead. And it took like 14 doses of Narcan to wake them up. And the usual dose of Narcan, depending which one you have, is 2 or 4 milligrams. So this was like huge doses of Narcan to wake them up. And what the consensus is that they got into drugs that were laced with carfentanil. Carfentanil is 1,000 times more potent than fentanyl. So if you thought fentanyl was a concern in drugs these days, now it's escalated to something even 1,000 times more potent. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, I think you're going to find where our government is pretending to do stuff about this fentanyl, but not really, because they want people to use marijuana that's legalized and pay for that marijuana that's legal. And it's legal in New York State now. They want you to pay for their drugs that aren't going to be laced. There's money. It's a business. Is marijuana is legal in California too, Miss G?
Yeah, it's legal here. I
Yeah.
honest to God don't know why it's legal, to be honest with you.
Well,
They
so,
don't.
but my point is, and the reason I'm telling people this, if anyone's watching and they have a drug addiction problem, the stakes are higher. And doing drugs right now, no time is a good time to have a drug addiction. But right now, it's like Russian roulette. Are you going to get something that's laced with carfentanil today? Are you going to get something that's laced with fentanyl today? It's Russian roulette. And then if you live because you didn't get fentanyl in your drugs, your kids are going to get taken away and your kids are going to get sex trafficked. It's very, very high stakes right now. Dangerous for yourself and your family to do drugs. If you're doing drugs and you're watching the show or you know somebody, share the show with them. Let Get them clean as best you can, because like I said, no time is a good time to have a good drug addiction, but right now is really bad. And all three of those people that came into the ER, they were in their 20s and 30s, and they went to the ICU in multi-organ failure. But I believe they all lived. They're lucky. They were minutes, seconds away from being pronounced. And then there would have been three people in the news who died all at once.
Yeah, I believe you. And what really makes me angry hearing this right now is because there's a lot of families, whether they're parents of a couple or a father and or a mother, um, they don't even do drugs and they still
Yes,
lose their rights. But the ones who do drugs, they get the children back and then they relapse. And I'm not, this is the BS crap because there's a lot of parents who don't even do the drugs at all. It was just a
they're going
domestic
after
violence.
everyone.
Right.
They're
It's like
going
a
after
domestic
everyone.
violence. Yeah.
And
Verbally
they're getting,
with
right.
their partner,
And
whatever the case may be. Yeah.
and they're getting more and more bold about it. They're
Yeah.
going after people that they never used to go after before, people that they wouldn't have picked before because, you know, like myself, I'm an educated physician assistant.
Yes, you are. You
You know,
saved my life. When
and
I had COVID, you saved my life.
and so like you said, they're going after kids in the streets. Now they're going after people with professional licenses. It's not just the vulnerable anymore because they keep getting away with it. Because they know that the state actually wants this because the state benefits and makes money off of it. And
The
so they
state
got the
benefit
judges
from
in cahoots.
the state benefit from middle class and poor people, believe it or not. And that's the God honest truth. And that's why they want you to be dependent on food stamps and cash aid and Medi-Cal. Why? And oh, by the way, corporations don't offer Medi-Cal for people because, I mean, they don't offer health insurance for people because they're hiring them as independent contractors because they're not going to pay taxes for them. So they would rather get people like that than hire someone on payroll, put someone on payroll. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So yes, some people depend on, you know, Medi-Cal. But again, that's depending on the government and they want you to depend on them. They want you to be needy of them.
But
And that's, yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to say though, Miss G, that I agree with what you're saying because I have a very clean history. I've never in my life done drugs.
Yep.
You know, and but that's not the point. The point is, don't hand yourself to them either. Don't do anything. It's bad enough that they're going after people without problems, but if you have a problem, don't hand yourself. It's like handing yourself over. It's just like, here I am, go for it. Is you don't want to give them anything to
Yeah.
use.
But also there's victims with drugs, drug victims where they're being, um, for example, kids nowadays trust their friends, for example, and what they do is they literally put stuff in their drinks, right, to get them hooked on drugs. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that be aware who you hang out with. Be aware because whether they're your best friends, whether they're your you've known them since childhood or whatever, they using children to traffic children. That's what you guys don't understand. And that child, the teenager that's trafficking other girls, they get a lot of money, a lot of money. So yes, they will take advantage of their peers wherever they
Well,
are.
and kids, they're kids. What do kids do? They learn and they make mistakes. They make mistakes and they learn. That's what the whole process of being a kid is about making mistakes and learning. But this is like the ultimate price.
Yeah. And but again,
Um,
drugs are, first of all, since the border has been open, wide open, over 3 million now illegal immigrants are in the country, over 3 million. And I heard on the news, and my friend lives in San Diego and she witnessed that. She took a video of it. 5 buses went to San Diego full of illegal immigrants. They would transported them to the airport where they flew for free, anywhere they want to go. So they can say, I want to go
so,
to, and I want to go to Hawaii, or I want to go, New York, or I want to go to Minneapolis, whatever they want to go, they put them.
but Miss G, inevitably, every single show we have, I bring up that report by the U.S. Department of State on human trafficking that's published every year. And what does it
Mhm.
say in there? It says the children that are most vulnerable to sex trafficking in the United States are kids that are in the foster system and kids that are coming over without parents. It says it. It's known.
It's known, it's proven. This is not a conspiracy, guys. This is real talk. Like, I'm not joking you. This is real
No,
talk.
and
Go ahead,
yeah,
Stacy.
and the document I'm speaking of is the document I'm speaking of is published by our own federal government. It's published yearly and it's available on the internet. You just have to Google U.S. Department of State report on human trafficking. Look at the most recent one and read it.
Yeah. And I think we read that California is number one, New York is number two. Oh, or is it New York or Texas number two? I forgot.
Right, right.
Uh,
No, they're bad. All I remember for sure is that the top the top states for child sex trafficking in the United States are California, Texas, New York, and Florida. And what they all have in common is that they're near a border for another country, except
mhm.
Florida is just
You're
close.
cutting in and out. You
Yeah,
were
I have
just
to go,
fine
Misty, because
before.
I have to pick up my kids. So,
That's okay. That's fine. But we're gonna wing it, I guess. But yeah, I understand you completely. But again, guys, please, if you guys get your children back and say you were doing drugs, you went to rehab, and you got your child back, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Don't relapse. If your child is the most important thing to you in life, then you need to stop doing anything that hinders that chances of your children or your child being removed again from you. I can't say it clear enough to you guys that
removed and harmed.
unharmed, right? You don't want your children in a stranger's home. The last thing you want is for your child to be sex trafficked. If you're doing drugs, you're hooked on drugs, whether it was your fault or not your fault, it doesn't matter. You need to literally not relapse, because every time you try to relapse, you're going to think about your child. If you really think about it, every time you try to relapse on a drug, look at your child and ask yourself, is this going to take care of your child? Will this keep your child safe? Think about that. The drugs are meant to control you. Cartels, all these people who are distributing drugs, it's meant to control you. Why is it meant to control you? So they can take full advantage of you and your family. When they have full advantage of you and you're in the dark, they can do whatever they want. They want the people drugged. And I believe our current administration right now is allowing all this for a reason. They don't want the people to be united together, stand strong to defend our rights. They want you numbed. They want you hooked on something so they can have easy access. I mean, what do you think, Stacy? What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's easier to dominate us if we're all divided and arguing among ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about that, Jamie, before you came on the show. What happened was we're talking about, right, we're talking about the ones who get their children back and they were on drugs and then they would did their classes, they got their child back and then they relapse and go, relapse and almost die at the hospital and after they got their child back. We're talking about that.
But you know, Miss
Those
Jean,
ones. Not
I
the
have,
ones
I
the
also
ones
have,
who let me
I
finish
also
that,
have the
Stacey.
theory.
Wait, hold on, baby. The ones who are not doing drugs and they steal their children, that's just plain out just despicable. Go ahead, Stacy.
I also have the theory that the few children that they do return to parents are parents that they suspect are most likely to relapse to make it look like, oh, we tried to do, reunifications, but look what happened. So I think the ones that they choose sometimes to reunify, they are poor specimens to of they have a poor prospect of high likelihood of relapsing, and they do that to pretend like, oh, we did our job, we attempted, but this is what happens when CPS tries to reunite children with their families. Meanwhile, most of the children that are in foster care and such were removed because of neglect and nothing to do with actual abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and those parents would likely be fine.
Yeah, but the thing is, most of the time is not neglect. The children who are really neglected and in harm's way, they leave them alone. They leave them alone, Stacy.
Yeah, I get it.
I asked one of the girls who used to work for CPS. Remember, I told you there's two of them. One of them contacted you. She just told me today, and she said she's not answering. So I said, okay, well, send her a text message, right? And she said, okay, I will. I don't know if she did or not, but I called you back to back. I'm like, Stacy, like, question mark, where are you? It wasn't so much about the show because she was trying to speak with you. I
Oh,
wanted her to show you what I saw. I saw her admission to the company, to the Department of CPS. Her paperwork. Onboarding paperwork. I saw how much she would get paid, the badge. All that. She showed me text messages, and I shared that with you guys. Snapshots of text messages from her supervisor telling her to go to the hospital. This lady gave birth, for example, to twins. The foster home on street, example, Granada Hills, California, example, is looking for a twin adoption. Then the social worker goes to the hospital. Now remember that the children were born with no drugs, no nothing. All of a sudden they tell the social worker goes in pretending to be a nurse. She goes in and says, okay, well, there's drugs in the system, but the mother is like, wait a minute, how? My doctor said everything is clean, I'm ready to go. And she said, well, there's drugs in the system, we're going to have to call DHS, blah 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 blah. Then they come in, another worker comes in and says, yeah, we're going to have to remove your baby, blah 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 blah. All of this is done strategically because they know that that county hospital don't have patients who can afford hiring an attorney. Because if you have the money to hire an attorney, you would not be in a county hospital. You would be in a big hospital that's not county. That means you only have county insurance. So no PPO, HMOs, or whatever, Medi-Cal. So basically they target certain people and so anyways, that one of my girls, I call them my girls because we became very close. One of my
Miss Jean,
girls,
I have to go because my kids are gonna get in the car.
that's fine.
Okay,
Love
bye
you.
bye. Love you too.
Bye. So my girl basically said she's done this for a year and 6 months, but she couldn't do it anymore. She said she couldn't sleep at night, she couldn't eat, she was losing she was being convicted, like in her gut, like her gut was convicting her. And she said she couldn't do it anymore. And she resigned. Before she resigned, Her supervisor told her that she better not open her mouth with anyone. Meaning, if they open their mouth and talk about what they know or what happened in the department, that they will come after their family. And if they go after their family, of course, the social workers know, the ones that resigned know that it's not going to be good. So they kept their mouth shut. And it's unfortunate, but they want to keep everyone in the hush hush because they know very well that we, the people that pays their freaking salary, if we all unite as one, they're going to be scared of us. They don't want anyone to speak up. They don't want anyone to retaliate against them, even the judges. When you are given that much power, you're going to abuse your power if you're not held accountable. And they're not held accountable to any demise, any malice actions, nothing. Everyone turns the other way and act like it's nothing. Because if the county and the state don't protect itself, they're going to lose. That's why they want everyone to be oblivious to what is going on. And you know, they gaslight you in a way where they tell you that your reality, what you see, is false. That's gaslighting. When you when they make you question your own reality, your own sanity, even with evidence in front of you and in front of them. That's a form of gaslighting. You guys have to understand that if we all put our differences aside, whether you like me, don't like me, whatever, I want you guys to understand that we all need to be one in one together. Why? Because we need to all of us, we need to stand up to the corruption. All of us. Not just, you know, um, bikers groups. I have friends, close friends of mine who are bikers. They're amazing. They're amazing. It's like 48 of them now standing up, but 48 out of millions and millions of people. When are we going to wise up and we stand together and fight against them? And I'm not talking about using force. I'm talking about using like a protest where everyone in the country, everyone in the United States of America are out together in their state, where it's nationwide, all over social media, everyone can see. We all need to gather together and do this. Otherwise, what are we doing just talking about it? If they see blacks, whites, Asians, Middle Easterns, Koreans, all nationality stand together, marching, they're gonna know that, wait a minute, this is crazy. We need to do something. We need this. We have to do this. Because voting them out is important, but a lot of you guys don't vote. I spoke to so many people and they said they don't vote. Then why are you looking for a change? How can you look for a change when you don't vote? Because once you vote, they're going to take them out. And then the new person will take over. If you guys have the mentality, well, everybody's corrupt, no, not everybody's corrupt. I found out who the true corruptions are. And I'm telling you right now, the people that exposing the truth, I've seen a lot of Republicans exposing the truth. Congress, senators who are in the Republican Party, they're exposing the truth with evidence, with pictures, with audio, with text messages. And the other side, the left, they're literally making us question our reality, telling us that When they took office, it was 9% inflation. Now it's 3%. It went down to 3%. I'm like, what? Wait, does it makes no sense because reality, right? Numbers don't lie. So again, these people are misusing their power to mislead us, to question our reality. Again, that's the form of gaslighting. You can't allow the government to do this. There's a lot of weird people out there who still deny to see the truth. And that's why we're in this situation where the left is taking full advantage of us. And I didn't come to that realization until years later. I am in my mid 50s, almost 60. And I'm telling you right now, they're using us to divide us and mislead us. And I wised up and I never again went to the left side. I am now literally focused on voting for the other side. And I would never, ever have known this until I did my own research. No one else, no one else. I was the only one in my family who was for the left. But I did my own research after years and years and years of being in the dark. And reality, the right is for the people. The left are not. Just look at their actions. It's like they're almost possessed by demons. Their actions are so weird, so disgusting. And you guys need to really do your own research and vote. Because if you don't vote, we're just going to be with these hyenas taking full advantage of us. Thank you very much, Amy. And I love you too, by the way. Um, but, just think about it, you guys. Do your own research and see how they can control your household by having your family members in the system, meaning collecting food stamps and cash aid. They know when you have a new baby, they know how many kids you have, how old your children, you become a number. They use that. They're close with DPSS. DPSS is where they give you food stamps, cash aid, and Medi-Cal, and they report to them how long you've been on the county collecting that benefits. It's not even benefits, it's not even great benefits, to be honest with you. But this is a way for them to control you and know everything about you. When you go there with your children, they see how beautiful your children are, but they still report you because now you've been with them for so long. They know that you can't afford an attorney. They know that you still can't afford living without them. Then they use that advantage and report you to CPS thinking, you know, they're doing the right thing to helping you. No, babe, they're not. They're really not. And I encourage everyone to try their best to stand up on their own 2 feet and for them to literally work hard for themselves. Stay away from the government, stay away from their benefits, stay away from all that. Try your best. I know it's hard when you're trying so hard in a country that is literally destroying their own people. I get it. But do everything you can to stay away from that life. Do everything you can to clean yourself up and not worry about, uh, don't get hooked on drugs or alcohol or anything that keeps you numbed. Believe me when I tell you this, we need to unite together, each and every one of us. Whether it doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what religion you are, doesn't matter what country you're from, it doesn't matter. We are the people that's paying their salary. At the end of the day, they work for us, but they're treating us like we work for them. If we work for them, why are they taking our money? They should be paying us. But they work for us because we're paying them. Think about what I just said. We're paying them. We pay taxes on everything. Did you guys hear about the new tax law? About them charging us the first year 66 cents tax on every gas transaction, putting gas in your car? they're taxing us an additional 66 cents every year is going to increase because Governor Newsom and other demonic individuals want us to rely on electric cars. So we're going to be paying mega bucks for gas with additional money. The Republicans are trying to put a stop to it. They're against that passing, but the Democrats are so for it. I read that just this morning at 6:15 a.m. And I want you also to keep in mind that it is illegal to vote when you're not an American citizen. It's actually a federal offense. When I came to this country, I became an American citizen so I can vote. And that was an amazing day for me as a young adult. Now, I came here legally. A lot of immigrants came here legally as well. But the ones who came illegal, the Democrats are passing a bill where they can vote. They don't need their citizenship. They don't even need a social security number. That's illegal. They're trying to make it legal. How much room are we going to give these people? No, I'm not willing. And I hope all of you guys wise up. God bless you. I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Relatives Fight CPS.